Hey guys, I'm going to make another soup. It's a garbanzo bean orzo tomato soup. I found it on ordinaryvegan.net. I think I found it on Facebook. I'm not sure if they have Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and all that, but I know it's ordinaryvegan.net. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything out and show you how to get it started. Hey everyone, let's look at the ingredients, but first just so you kind of get a visual of where it's from, ordinaryvegan.net, and it is called the garbanzo bean and tomato soup. And there's the list of ingredients, which per usual I will be changing a little bit. So I've got the 2 cans of the garbanzo beans. Let's see, I have the veggie stock, and it says 3 to 5 cups, and this is 4 cups. So in case I need a little bit more, I also have my veggie bouillon, which I will add to some water. Next is orzo, which I did happen to have the orzo. You could probably also substitute barley or any other grain. I was thinking rice would be good too. Someone else suggested maybe even lentils. It'd be a very beany soup that way. Next is 2 cans of diced tomatoes, or 1 large can of diced tomatoes, which again I only have 1. So I'm going to use the one that I have, and then I have this big old beefsteak tomato, so I'm going to add that in. And if it's missing a tomatoey flavor, my husband also has this tomato powder that he uses in some seasoning blends that he makes, so I'll add a little bit of that in. And again, add more liquid as you need it. And then it calls for garlic, which I always have. And it calls for shallots, which I don't have, so I'm going to be using onion. Shallots would be a little bit sweeter flavor. And then it calls for a bunch of seasonings that I just don't currently have individually. Some I do, but some I don't. So it calls for 2 teaspoons of fresh rosemary, teaspoon of thyme, teaspoon of dried basil. So I don't really have all of those right now, so what I'm going to substitute with is this Italian seasoning blend. And also what I've found is really good in soups is the Trader Joe's 21 Seasonings Salute blend. And then it also calls for salt, so I will be using my pink Himalayan salt to taste, and then I also will be adding pepper to taste. It calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. That's kind of up to you. For me, I'm going to leave that out just because I don't like things spicy. So let me go ahead and get everything prepped and I will show you. Alright everybody, so like I said, it called for 3 shallots, which I didn't have. So I chopped up some onion here. As you can tell, that's a lot of onion compared to 3 shallots. It's probably like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times the amount that I would actually need compared to the shallots, but my husband and I really like onions, so I always make more. I always chop more for recipes. And it called for 4 cloves of garlic, I believe. Yes, 4 cloves of garlic. I'm going to do 5, and then I just wanted to kind of show you what I've done before. The easiest way to do it, since it needs to be minced anyways, is if you have a chef's knife and you're using it, you put the chef's knife on top and then you kind of smash it down with the heel of your palm. But if not, you can do what I do and get a jar of something heavy and then just take it and smash it. So when you do that, the paper skin will come off pretty easily. Now that's even just with one hand. And then you'll be able to go ahead and mince that up pretty easily. So I'm going to go ahead and finish mincing, and then I'm going to get these in the pot. It's going to go into my big soup pot with a tablespoon of olive oil. And for those of you doing the low-fat deal, you can go ahead and leave the olive oil out, and you can do the steam saute of the onions and the garlic in a little bit of water. Alright everybody, I just sauteed down the onions a little bit. I let those go a little bit first to get them nice and soft, and then I added all my garlic in. I don't want the garlic to burn, so I add that in at the last second, just so it has like 30 seconds to a minute to kind of get a little bit of color on it and kind of cook out a little bit of that bitterness that the raw garlic has to it. Once the garlic is fragrant and I can smell it really good, then I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients. Alright, first I'm going to go ahead and add the stock. I'm going to add the whole box, which is 4 cups. And then I will go ahead and add the diced tomatoes and then that fresh tomato, and then see how much more liquid I really need. Depends on how soupy I want it. The bouillon will also add a little bit of salt flavor, so if I add the bouillon cube, I may not add the Himalayan pink sea salt. So as you can see here, again, I only have the 1 can of the diced tomatoes, so I'm going to add that in. And then I chopped up that really big tomato that I have, which looks like it's going to be enough. Again, if I need to add more liquid, I'll add some water with some of that little vegetable bouillon, and if I need a little bit more tomato flavor, I will add some of that tomato powder. Alright, after pouring the tomatoes and stuff in and realizing I still had to put in the garbanzo beans and the orzo, I went ahead and added 1 cube of the bouillon into it, and then a cup of water, and I'll add more water if it needs it. So right now it's got a pretty decent salty flavor, so I'm not going to add the salt to it, but I will add some Italian seasoning and some of the 21 seasoning salute blend. This one's always been really good in soups, and then this one will add that rosemary and basil flavor that the recipe called for. So let's go ahead and pour the garbanzo beans in. You can see how much stuff's in there and why you might want a little bit more liquid. It just depends on your flavors, on your tastes. Alright, there's my 1 cup of orzo. I'm going to stir that through, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some seasoning. So I'm going to add a good little palmful here of the Italian seasoning. I'm going to kind of crush it between my hands to kind of release the oils. And then I'll probably add about half as much of the 21 seasoning salute from Trader Joe's, and then let everything come up to a simmer, let the orzo get kind of tender, and then adjust the seasoning from there. Alright, everything's coming up to a simmer, and while it's cooking, don't walk away from it every few minutes. You can see I'm putting a little pressure and I'm scraping the bottom. I can feel the orzo trying to stick, so go ahead and just stir this every minute or so to make sure that the orzo doesn't stick and burn at the bottom. And then in about 10 minutes, give or take, until the orzo is tender, I will come back to you and we'll adjust seasoning, and I'll let you know how it tastes. Alright guys, while it's bubbling away, you can see and hear, just giving you some topping ideas. If you are doing the low-fat thing, then by itself is totally fine. If you're not, some of this Go Veggie Parmesan cheese, or some of the vegan Parmesan cheese that you can make yourself that has ground up almonds, a little bit of salt, and some garlic, and I believe some nutritional yeast, which is really good. I make that as well. Also, another good option to drizzle on top if you want that richness is a little bit of good olive oil. Not olive oil that you cook with, but olive oil that you just eat by itself. Again, do the low-fat thing and totally exclude these. Let's see. I don't know if you can see me, but some other people might add something like their vegan sour cream. Hey, Shannon. Be totally yummy on top. And then also, if you are doing grains or bread or anything like that, a nice crusty bread would probably be amazing with this. So I'm going to have it as is first, and then I'll probably add a little bit of the Go Veggie vegan Parmesan cheese on top, because this is kind of like a nice hearty Italian soup. And then I have some sprouted grain bread in the fridge, so if I'm still a little hungry after all those garbanzo beans and orzo, I might sop up the rest of the broth with a little bit of bread. So it's almost ready, so we'll get back to it. 37 seconds on the timer, and then I will check the orzo and see if it needs more time, and then I will also see if it needs more seasoning. Alright guys, here's the finished product. Here's a little spoonful of it. Kind of got it a little cool. Good. Probably use a little more salt, but I know I'm going to add some of that Go Veggie vegan Parmesan cheese, and then anybody out there who really needs the salt can add a little bit more, but I'm going to leave it as is because I know once it soaks overnight that it's going to add more flavor. And again, if you like a lot of seasoning and everything to it, go ahead and add more spices. If I would have had the fresh rosemary, that would have added a real big hit of seasoning to it. So again, season to your liking. I like my stuff a little bit on the milder side because I know I always end up adding something to it. Oh, and another thing that would be good is something my husband would probably add would be hot sauce. Lots and lots of hot sauce if you're into that. So go ahead and give this a try. See if we can take a final look at it. I know that's a weird angle. Very hearty, makes a nice big pot of it. Go ahead and give it a try. Let me know what you think. Don't mind all my weird camera angles and staring off in weird places. Just enjoy the soup. And y'all have a good night, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye. One last tip that the recipe said is if you want to make it like a thicker soup. This is pretty thick. I have about 5 cups of liquid in here right now. plus, you know, the extra added tomato, which kind of made it a little bit thicker. And I'll probably get a little bit thicker overnight. But if you want this to be a thicker tomato soup, go ahead and take about 2 cups of this and blend it up in your blender and then stick it back in. But just remember, when you blend hot stuff in your blender, you need to leave the little top part of your lid off completely. And then I usually just take a dish towel and I cover that so it has room for the steam to escape, because otherwise you're going to have an exploding blender, which is terrible, especially with hot stuff. And then you would go ahead and pour it back in and mix it through. That'll just add some thickness for you. Or if you don't have a blender or anything, you can try a immersion blender and just kind of whiz it around in there a little bit. And then maybe just so you get a little bit of thicker texture. So whatever you feel like doing. But I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. Bye. Hey, and very last tip that I suggested to somebody else on another site was, if you're trying to get your greens in, your veggies in, go ahead and stir in some Swiss chard, kale, or spinach at the very, very end and wilt it through. That would be really good. Also, when you are sauteing your onions and garlic, add some chopped up bell pepper. I would do one of the sweet ones, like a red one, yellow or orange, not the green. That's going to be a little bit too bitter. So feel free to add any veggies you want, zucchini, squash, anything like that. Make it more hearty. Just add a little bit more liquid to make up for the extra veggies that are in there. But go ahead and enjoy it. I just had my bowl full. It was yummy. I may have some more. And y'all have a good evening. Thanks. Bye. It's still going. Bye. And one more blooper at the end, since I kind of bloopered that last little bit anyway. So here we go. Alright, this is a little awkward stance, but here's the soup. Don't mind me. Yummy soup. It's not gonna focus. Whatever. Anyways.